For over 10 years, ClashRoyale has never released a card that costs half an elixir, and I think this could be a genuinely groundbreaking addition to the game when it comes to balancing. So why doesn't it exist? Well, the answer may be a lot deeper than you might think. Let's take it back to the start of the game. 2016. Way less cards and way less of whatever this is. It was a way simpler game and we only had one elixir card, that being the skeletons. When the Ice Spirit was introduced a few months later, it was kind of controversial. By this point, players had recognized that cheap cards could help you cycle to your win conditions faster. So the Ice Spirit being 1 elixir started to raise some alarm bells for a few people, and the introduction of another 1 elixir card is also how we got to have Hog 2.6. So even 1 elixir cards already have a huge implication on how decks are played. But this hasn't really stopped Supercell from adding more. I mean, you got the 1 elixir heal spell and heal spirit, fire spirit, and the electro spirit, but people never really ran more than 2, even in brain-dead decks like this. So then why haven't we seen any fractional elixir costs like 0.5 or 3.5? Like I said, I think this could unlock many new opportunities to balancing and even when designing new cards. For example, the Royal Recruits were originally introduced at 6 elixir. Look, I don't know what they were smoking because that could not have been a human decision, but the Royal Recruits at 6 elixir obviously dominated. So to balance it, they increased the elixir cost to 8 elixir, which made them useless. And now they're finally at 7 with adjustments to HP and damage, but half elixir increments could have maybe been the solution. And one of the more interesting cases when it comes to this concept is the Barbarian Barrel. You might not know, but originally the Barbarian Barrel released at 3 elixir, which was too expensive as the log was 2 elixir and a better alternative. Even with the fact that back then the Barbarrow had knockback, more range, more damage, and obviously had a whole ass Barbarian spawning, 3 elixir was simply too much. And so the Barbarian Barrel was reduced from 3 to 2 elixir. But it couldn't just become cheaper. It had to be reworked and balanced to fit that 2 elixir price tag. And so they removed the knockback, decreased the range, decreased the damage, all kinds of things to make it fit that 2 elixir price tag. And this raises an interesting idea, because what if, instead of forcing changes like that into a full 1 elixir jump, there was a step in the middle, something like 2.5 elixir? You keep part of the original strength and remove specific mechanics like the knockback. It's a smaller buff to the elixir cost because it's still a little bit more expensive, but it's also a smaller nerf to the stats. And this also helps it differentiate from the log more. But then again, this could also blur the lines. Having the Barbaro and Log both sit at 2 elixir allows you to see the clear strengths and weaknesses of each card. The Log obviously has its knockback, deals more damage, and it can reach further, but the Barbaro obviously spawns a Barbarian. So increasing the Barbaro by 0.5 elixir while increasing some of the stats means there's no real trade-off anymore, and it might make the Log futile. So one of the reasons we might not have seen 0.5 elixir cards is that they start to break the way ClashRoyale categorizes its cards. Take the Bomber and Firecracker. They serve a similar role, both being able to do ranged splash damage and survive log. Yet, the Bomber costs 2 elixir and the Firecracker costs 3. And that 1 elixir immediately tells you a lot, because for that 1 elixir, the Firecracker has a longer range and can hit air troops. The Bomber is cheaper, but comes with some clear limitations. That 1 extra elixir can really help create a clear line between the 2 cards. But if the Bomber costs 2.5 elixir with the ability to target air, it gets messy. Then the only advantage the Firecracker has for that extra 0.5 elixir is the range. Okay, so clearly 0.5 elixir increments aren't as great as I originally thought when it comes to cards. But this is not the only place we can apply this idea. I was thinking it could maybe work for champion and hero abilities. But especially heroes. A big reason I'm not too fond of heroes is that they are cards that were made before abilities were ever a thing. The Mini P.E.K.K.A is already a solid card. It deals high damage to single units. It's simple, but it works. So if you then suddenly give a 1 elixir ability that lets it level up and heal, you're making an already strong card even stronger. Now, the reason champions work is because they were made with their ability in mind. Take the Archer Queen. Without her ability, she's honestly just a worse musketeer that costs more elixir, which means she low-key sucks. But that's the point. The card is intentionally weaker because the ability is part of the card's power. So honestly, I think champion abilities are fine, let's forget those. But as I said, heroes weren't made with that idea in mind. So what if we made the hero abilities significantly weaker, but make them cheaper as well? The Mini P.E.K.K.A can only level up 2 levels and heal only 20%, but for 0.5 elixir. And the hero balloon ability could be like 1.5 elixir, but maybe with a longer windup or simply less damage. And then there's of course the forever controversial mirror. Mirroring a card for +1 elixir is really bad. Mirroring a card for free is overpowered. So am I crazy for thinking that mirroring a card for +0.5 elixir might be the solution? Well, yeah, you kind of are. See, for some of us, adding 2.5 plus 3.5 might not be rocket science. But imagine you're new to the game, learning what each card does, what strategies are available, and then you need to count in fractions? For casual players or those who just want to enjoy the game, it's just not a good design. Whole numbers simply are easier to track. And for people who've played for years like me, it would just be disorienting. I mean, we've been so used to the current system, it would just throw us off. So maybe if they had added it all the way back in 2016, we'd all be used to it by now, but they didn't, and probably for the better. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized something, and that is that fractional elixir costs actually do exist. But before I show you, please consider subscribing. I want to hit 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and with your help, it might actually be possible. Okay, anyway, think about how elixir actually works. In single elixir, you get 1 elixir every 2.8 seconds, but it's not like you just get one piece of elixir. Elixir is a liquid. You can see it fill up the bar gradually. Sure, there's 10 little blocks all indicating 1 elixir, but that would mean that half of a block is 0.5 elixir. And I'm not just making this up, this is something we can actually see. When you're spectating a match or watching a replay, you can see that if a player sits at 10 elixir for too long, they start leaking elixir. And they're not leaking 1 elixir at a time. You see the game count up with 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, and so on as elixir is wasted. Also, if you play the rage game mode, everything is raged, including elixir generation. You can see that the elixir generation is at 1.3 times speed. So clearly, fractional elixir is a real thing. But that's not the only example. We can see it even clearer with the elixir golem. When you destroy the first stage, you get 1 elixir. Then 2 elixir golemites spawn, each worth 0.5 elixir. And when those split into 4 blobs, each of those blobs is worth 0.25 elixir. That's not true. I think I'm lying about that. Wait, fuck. No, sorry, no. They're worth 0.5. Anyway, this might be an interesting thing to think about when thinking of the elixir collector. What if you just gradually get more elixir over time? The elixir collector produces 1 elixir every 13 seconds, so maybe it'd be interesting to have it constantly generate a small bit of elixir. Kind of put your elixir bar in overdrive. So, to answer the question of the video, we actually do have fractional elixir costs in Clash Royale. Anyway, go watch this video because YouTube thinks you'll like it.